Hey guys, we're here with Matt at Gopher Games. We just finished undefeated with Kashtira. How are you liking the deck?
I mean, the deck's really fun, but it loses to like everything. But I got a little lucky to Drew Shifter a lot. So.
All right. Well, let's get right to the list.
All right. So the Kashtiras, 3 Unicorn. Best starter in the deck is searches Theosis or Birth. You basically search Birth if you have Fenrir in hand, or you search Theosis if you don't have access to the other Kashtiras. Obviously Fenrir. This card's one of the best board breaking cards in the game, and then, you know, it's part of the engine. Pretty explanatory. The new cards, 3 Rise Heart, and I'm playing 1 Scareclaw and 1 Tear Cash.
Okay, standard?
Yeah, pretty standard. Rise Heart, honestly, you can take this down to 2 because in testing, sometimes you would brick a lot on this card, but overall, I think Scene 3 is fine because like sometimes you see Rise Heart plus Birth, you can also combo as well. And the idea is like you just want to have combo plus hand traps in this deck to really beat your opponent. You definitely need Scareclaw Cash. Arguably, you can take out Tear Cash if you want to fit in more space for hand traps or board breakers. But you need Scareclaw Cash to deal with like stuff like Baguska, and it outs like stuff like Abramax as an effect where if a Cash monster battles a monster, it gets negated until the end of the turn after. So you definitely want both. A lot of times though, Tear Cash is really good though because if you get lucky, you can mill something and then you can birth it back. So I like both. But it's nice to have the extenders. Next for the hand traps, obviously 3 of the best hand trap. I'm not sure if I'm going to be main decking this next format, mainly because like branded, Sorceral, like a lot of decks can like play through it or like aren't like heavily tampered by it, but at least at locals for now, Shifter we're playing. For the other hand traps, it's 3 Ash and 3 Imperm.
Standard?
Oh, sorry.
No nib?
No nib in the main, because like it's like kind of annoying to remove your own token or sorry, your own Nibiru, because like you have to have a normal summon and then link it off for Donner, which I mean at that point like I just didn't think it was worth it. I'm not even playing Nib because I feel like there's better cards to side against this deck, which I'll explain later in the side. But total is 9 hand traps, and then the only other board breaker is 3 Lava Golem in the main. I see a lot of lists not playing this card. This card, if anything, after this ban list, is probably one of the best board breakers in the format. You don't need your normal summon in this deck very often, and then this can like just win you games. The last trap is Big Bang. It's kind of a brick if you open it, but if you do open it, you just search Tear Cash or Scareclaw Cash instead of Rise Heart, part of your full combo. It has a very niche evenly effect, which does come up, but yeah, it's pretty good. For spells, you play 4 the field spell. This is Perlerino at home, but you know, still a very good field spell. You get a pop with it when trigger Shangri-La. 3 Theosis and 3 Birth. A lot of people were changing the ratios, either like 2 Theosis or 3 or 2 Birth. The reason why I played all 6 is just because, first of all, it's like consistency. Arguably, if anything, you could take out 1 Birth, but like even that, like Birth is probably your strongest card because like if you like get like board broken, if you have a Birth on the field still, like you can just instantly win the game after because you can special summon Unicorn and OTK your opponent. Theosis I also still like at 3 regardless because it's kind of your recursion, so like you can, part of your combo, banish Theosis from graveyard with Tear Cash or Scareclaw Cash, and then add back Big Bang or one of your cards for follow-up.
So when you get Nibiru, what's sort of like your follow-up play?
Hopefully you have Birth to summon something, or it kind of like depends on which point they Nibiru you. Most of them, like a good player will probably Nibiru at the very end of your combo because this deck doesn't make a single negate, so at that point it's kind of tough because you use most of your resources. Lastly, 3 Prosperity and 3 Econ. Prosperity I think is pretty self-explanatory. In this deck you can banish cards like the Infinitrack Goliath to equip to your Rise Heart later, but also you just want to dig for your good cards. You can dig for Lava Golem as well. I side this out in the mirror because you don't want to get your deck banished for 14 in the mirror. And then Econ, this is something that my friends and I came up with to play against Tier originally because it played around Sullic and Meta Noise, but even with that out of the format, this card is like your #1 way to deal with like problematic boss monsters and like stuff like the Igloo Lock on your field, like, or regardless, just like anything that like would hurt your play, this like helps you with, and it can go first or second as relevancy. For the extra deck, pretty standard. 2 Shangri-La, 2 Arise Heart.
Ooh, Starlight.
Yeah, I'm poor. Anyways, pretty standard. You want to play 2 of each so you don't get ripped in the mirror. Only 1 Diabolosis. You don't need 2. Like, you're not making this going second at all in the mirror. And yeah. 1 Big Eye, 1 Dark Armed, 1 Draco Sack. These are kind of your cards. This is really good in the mirror. Arguably, if anything, you change the extra deck, you play this at 2 because you don't want to get this ripped in the mirror. But I was just finding with extra deck space that I just kind of wanted to play the 1 and just rely on my own main deck engine to beat the mirror. This is really, really good. A lot of people aren't playing this card. This card banishes any card from your graveyard to pop a card. So you can banish cards like Theosis and Big Bang and trigger them. And then Draco Sack is your easiest way to make Zeus, because it can't be short by back. 2 Zeus, pretty self-explanatory. You don't want to get it ripped in the mirror. 1 of the time card. It's probably the worst time card in the game because it loses to Imperm. And then finally, the links. I'm playing 2 Lingaribo because if you get Ibly locked in this deck, you need them to not rip the Lingaribo out to outed. You need Donner if they nib you to like play, or like if you get a monster on your field, you want to like, some plays you can do is like Econ and then summon a monster, link off into this, pop this in a monster, and then special unicorn to like continue your combo. And then Goliath is strictly for prosperity. You equip it up to a Rise Heart and it can't be destroyed. Funny enough, Zeus is also a machine, so if you drop Zeus on top of the Rise Heart with this equip, it can't be destroyed by card effects. Finally, the side deck. 3 Ibly. There's been a lot of discussion on like what's the best way to deal with Nib in this deck. I just think it's Ibly because like you don't usually use your normal summon in this deck, and like it has interruption on your opponent. There's a fun stuff you can do where you pop your own Lingaribo in the standby and summon all your seasoned defense so they can't switch to attack and crash into it. But yeah, it plays around Nib and it's something to out. 3 Lancia. This is mainly for the mirror, but also there's just a lot of decks in the format that are hit by it. Like for example, Dragon Link. Yeah. I think it's worth playing mainly for the mirror because I think if anything, when you play this deck, you can prepare for stuff like Nib with like Ibly, or you can prepare for like other cards. But like Lancia, you really can't prepare for because they can activate it even under Shifter. 3 Sphere Mode again. I think the approach to play this deck is like using your normal summon to board break. You don't main it because it'd get bricky at that point, but again for combo decks, you just drop this and you just win. You need 3 Lightning Storm for Lab because I think Lab will be a much played deck in this format, and like they play Floodgates that kill this deck, and Spell Traps also just hurt this deck. And then finally, 3 Judgment. Mainly to hit Book of Eclipse, you know, evenly. Again, this deck loses to literally everything. So you need these awesome cards to like sometimes win you the game.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the profile. Any last shout outs?
As usual, shout out to my boys on Team X9. Shout out to James for the great content. To Go for Game for the best locals in Toronto. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you.